Yay! All right, so Monday, October 21st, you might see a little pumpkin because my room got decorated by Halloween gnomes. Grades are updated on Skyward. You now have the notebook in there and your short stories test. I handed them back today. If you don't like the grade on your short stories test, you can do test corrections. And so you have to go through there and fix the ones you got wrong. Directions are on my website. Make sure you follow those directions. You'll need your original answer sheet to do it. Notebook-wise, we handed those back. We crossed out the old table of contents, so make sure you cross that out. It's now dead to us. Any blank pages that have work next to it on one side and a blank page, cross those out because they're dead to us. And you got to your first 2 blank pages. We crossed those out to separate first 9 weeks from second 9 weeks. Then we entered our new table of contents. Turn the page, the table of contents, the next one. We have our first homework, which is a big picture, and our first bell work, which is similes and metaphors. And then here's what you're going to do for the bell work. You're going to write down that definition of simile, compare to different things by using words like or as. Metaphor, compare to different things by stating one thing is the other one, no like or as. And you're going to write 2 examples of similes and write 2 examples of metaphors. There we go. So that's your bell work. On that bell work, go down just a little bit, and we're going to have you write down a couple more things to help you out. These are the most commonly made mistakes when people do similes and metaphors. So I'm going to try and help you out with this part. Part 1, you have to make sure you're comparing 2 nouns. This is the main thing that kids tend to mess up. They're going to end up, instead of comparing 2 nouns, they compare a noun to a verb, or compare a noun to an adjective. They'll say something like, Bobby is dumb. That's my metaphor. I'm like, that doesn't work. Bobby's a noun, but dumb is an adjective. So apparently Bobby's not the dumb one. So you have to compare Bobby to something that is dumb. You can say Bobby is a cow, or Bobby is a rock, or Bobby is a cow made out of rocks. Something like that, where you're comparing 2 nouns to each other. So make sure you're not comparing a noun to a verb or a noun to an adjective. Doesn't usually happen in similes, typically happens in metaphors. Next up, the 2 nouns you compare cannot be the same thing. So you have to make sure you are comparing 2 things that cannot possibly be the same. As an example, do not compare a whale to a fish. You cannot say, that whale was like a fish going through the water. That doesn't work because a whale is a fish. No, they're not, Miss Brovicast. They're mammals. Whatever. They're in water and they're delicious. They're the same thing. So you have to make sure that you're not... Like you've never had a fish. You have to make sure you're... You guys are funny. I know. A week away and you completely forget my personality. So make sure you're comparing 2 completely different things. Compare the whale to a submarine and that would work much better. When it comes to humans or something like that, it can also get tough. Comparing the floor to the ground. This was an example a kid gave me a couple years ago. When their example, like, when I was walking and fell, the ground was as hard as the floor. And I was like, that's the same thing. No, they're not. They're spelled different. I'm like, and so floor, ground, they're both going to be the same. Or I have a lot of kids who try to compare me to a teacher. They're like, Mr. Brovicast is an evil teacher. I'm like, that's what I am. No, you're not. Yes, I mean, according to the IRS, that's what I get paid to do. So you can't compare me to a teacher. It also gets tough when you compare me to a jerk, because technically, I could be a jerk. In some people's opinions, I may be a jerk. So you have to make sure you don't compare somebody to something they can be. Now, I'm not beef jerky. That'd be different. But comparing Bobby is a jerk is not a metaphor. Because for all we know, we hate Bobby, and Bobby is a jerk. So make sure you're comparing 2 different things. And then finally, you cannot use the word looks in a good simile or metaphor. It makes it globetrottery and weak, and I'll have to make fun of you. So if you have that dog looks like an angry lion, that makes it all globetrottery and weak. Take out the word looks, replace it with is or was or some other word, and that dog is like an angry lion, makes a lot more sense. And the last one before I call on Pumphrey, have a reason for why you're making your comparison in your similes and metaphors. Do they make sense? As earlier, a kid wrote down, Johnny is like a desk. And I was like, what? They're like, 2 nouns, and they're not the same thing. And I go, good point. Why are you comparing Johnny to a desk? And they went, I'm like, exactly. Is it because you're writing on him? So have a reason why you're making this comparison for it to make sense. Humphrey.
Does it count if I say Mr. Cardinal is like a demon from the underworld?
Yeah, they're fine. I mean, not technically a demon. I mean, I've not finished my training yet, so yeah. Rothschild.
Okay, so for on the looks one, what if the dog isn't like an angry lion? He actually just looks like one.
Then it's not a simile or metaphor. Then you're just being a globetrotter. Happy.
So we have to have a reason.
Yes.
So, but like, what if I said that you were a clown? How do I like explain that?
Well, that's up to you. Is it because I hide in sewers?
Say, like,
Well, you don't have. It does not have to be in the sentence. It just has to be here. So if I ask you, Happy, why are you comparing me to a clown? You can go, because I see you with that red balloon, you ate a child's soul. You're like, oh, that makes sense. So as long as in your head you can explain it, that's fine. It doesn't have to be written in there. Andre.
Wait, why would comparing a whale to a submarine work? Because they both swim in water and they both taste good.
Tig!
That is not real.
wait, no. I bet
No.
Submarines aren't real.
We'll get, that's coming up in a moment. Now, we're going to come back to this. The sharing is going to happen in a second. But I'm going to make sure I check off the box of showing you guys officially the homework. So here is the homework that is due Wednesday. It should take you about 15 minutes. It's on my website. There is now a new poetry page. So all this is going to tell you is you're going to go to my poetry page, which I'm going to show you in a moment. On there is a file. You click on it, and it has a bunch of pictures on there. You get to pick one picture and write 3 similes and 3 metaphors about that picture. It's not due till Wednesday, because we're going to talk about it again tomorrow. But if you know you have free time and want to get it done, you're welcome to get it done. On my website, on the poetry page, you come down to the one that says homework files, and there's one that says big picture homework file, and you click on that, and that's what I'm looking for you to do. Once you click there, you're good to go. Due Wednesday. Should not take you super long to do. Good to go there. All right. Quit. Questions as far as the homework goes? Then let's begin torturing people. So taking a look at your examples of similes and metaphors, let's find out how smartical you are. Luckily, Tiggleton has volunteered to go first. He has not realized what he's volunteering for. The way it works is Blizz is going to have to read you one of her examples. So Blizz, you get to take a look at your examples of 4, and you're going to pick one of them to read out loud. Tiggs, you're going to be telling me, is it a simile, a metaphor, or none of the above? For all we know, Blizz completely messed up and just wrote down, I like pickles, which is not a simile or a metaphor. So you have simile, metaphor, or none. Then you're going to tell me what 2 nouns are being compared. Then you have to tell me why we're comparing them. And then you get to read one of yours to someone else. But you cannot read the same thing that was read to you. So if she reads a simile, you read a... If she reads a metaphor, you read a... simile. And if she does none of the above, you get to...
Do none of the above.
I don't think you understand.
Choose either one.
Oh!
Gotcha. And for the rest of you, if he gives an answer and you feel it is wrong, make sure you let me know, because it will impact all of us. Rothschild.
I like pickles is one though.
No, it's not.
He uses the word like and then I in pickles.
But you
Right.
actually like pickles.
But hang on. Are you comparing yourself to pickles?
Yeah.
I am like
comparing that you
No.
like
Just saying a thing does not make it so. Kim?
I feel like this thing is like weird because if she does a simile, then he has to do a metaphor.
Correct.
And then the other person just guesses metaphor.
Well, that's adorable. You're assuming the class pays attention. As soon as I said Blizz and Tig, the other 28 kids went like this, and just stare at the wall. In a moment when I have Tig read to someone else, they're going to go, what? What's going on? I don't understand. And so all of a sudden, I've been doing this for a long time. I rely on kids to be lazy. Now, there's probably 3 or 4 kids who are paying attention. I just won't call on those kids. That takes all the fun out of it. Amblin.
Impact learning really isn't that loud anymore.
Okay.
I bet you hit her
Happy.
upside the head.
Why would you say that?
It's not.
Dude, us all.
Focus.
What's like a very big monument, like a very big statue?
Washington Monument in Washington,
A very
D.C.
large monument.
Monumental.
The Eiffel Tower?
Eiffel Tower. Statue of Liberty. Blizz, you ready? Me too. Read yours out loud for young Tiggles.
You're as funny as a rock.
You. I'm assuming you're talking about Tig. You are as funny as a rock.
That's a simile
How do you know?
because it uses the word as.
Good. Comparing what two things?
You and a rock.
And what they have in common? They're both
Stupid.
close, but not quite.
They don't have brains. That means they're not intelligent.
Closer.
They aren't smart.
Were you listening?
You are as funny as a rock.
Oh, you're not funny.
There you go. Yeah. I understand all the synonyms you were saying about smart. It was not making it correct. Tig, now you're going to read yours for Kemp. We'll see if I was correct in the paying attention thing.
You are not a clown. You're the entire circus.
Basically, you are the entire circus. The first part was just to throw you off.
So it's just your.
You are the entire circus.
I have to think about it.
All right, that's fine. Thinking is fine.
Wait, did it?
A metaphor.
Well, because it should be metaphor, but what is the other option it could be?
None of them.
Correct. So I know, that's what the thing was. I was backing you up on that one. So you can't just, I'm going to just go, metaphor! Then all of a sudden, whack! You're like, what? And you find out it was wrong. But in this case, you're correct. It was a metaphor. Nicely done. Comparing what two things? Sorry, comparing what two nouns?
You and the circus.
Good job. What do they have in common? You are not a clown. You are the entire circus.
They're both elves.
Saved by the bell, Kemp, except for the fact that tomorrow we're going to start with you. So remind me, Kemp begins our torturing then. See you tomorrow.